And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to A Bookish Moment. I'm Sarah Burr.
And I am JC Kenny, and it's so exciting today, folks, because we have a fellow Indiana author who is a fellow cat lover. So today is the greatest day in the history of the Bookish Moment. So Sarah, I think it's time to get bookish.
Yes, and we've got a lot to cover in a short amount of time. We could chat with our dear friend Ruth J. Hartman for days about the wonderful cozy mysteries that she writes. Today we are going to be focusing, however, on her latest release, Perfectly Framed. Welcome to A Bookish Moment, Ruth.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I want to say Jim and I do have the Hoosier thing in common, but I've known both of you for years now, so this is fun.
Yes, and it'll be, get to dive into, what are some of our favorite things, which are pets and cozy mysteries in general, and just the fun of thinking up how to murder people. So for
on paper, disclaimer, on paper.
Yes, thinking of how to murder people. And we want to welcome our viewers who are joining us live. We've got Farmhouse Reader, we've got Mizan, we've got Sir Reads a Lot chiming in with hellos. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us today. Let's hear it for the cat fans. That's what Mizan says.
Yes.
So Ruth, to introduce you and your writing to our audience members, can you share a little bit about your journey and the books that you write?
Well, my journey started, I didn't start writing till I was 45, which is a lot later than a lot of people. I was a dental hygienist, which is about as exciting as it sounds. So I wrote one book and I thought this is going to be it. It was actually an autobiography because I have OCD, which was so severe that I couldn't leave my house. It was a whole thing. Oh, wow. So I wrote an autobiography and I thought, okay, this is it. Maybe it'll help somebody. And then one day I was cleaning someone's teeth and I thought, I wonder what would happen if a hygienist fell in love with her patient. It had nothing to do with the patient in my chair. Trust me, I'm married. It was not that, but just, kind of an idea. So I wrote my first romance about a hygienist who fell in love with her patient.
Nice.
Yeah. Kind of went from there to, contemporary romances. I wrote a boatload of Regency romances and women's fiction and a children's book. And I thought, I like to read mysteries. Why am I not writing mysteries? And once I started that, then that was a whole new thing that is a whole lot more fun.
Well, that is just so cool.
And very glad that you made that decision to, just start writing. And it's so funny, like what kind of triggers people into pursuing this, this craft. And so it's really fun to hear that it was just you're working on a patient and the idea came to you. What made you want to, so you had mentioned that, you loved reading mysteries. What were some of the mysteries that you were reading at the time that kind of inspired you to pursue the cozy mystery genre?
Well, I always read Mary Higgins Clark.
Oh, love Mary Higgins Clark.
Yeah. Kind of cozy. I mean, it's cozy-ish. My mom actually started reading them and then she would give them to me when I was a teenager and because she was a big reader. And I started reading those and I just loved them. And then I started reading, some others. And I thought, I like reading different things, but I really like the ones where you don't have all the gore and the scary. I mean, there's suspense and there's surprise and there's a murder, but it's not the ick I just like that, and I like that they're funny, and that a lot of the characters are quirky, and I also like that there's a whole subset with pets and another subset with cats. So,
yes,
it's all good.
Which brings us Perfect segue. Thank you very much, Ruth. To, and I'm not going to do it because I'm going to blow it. Perfectly Framed, which is a boring way, non-Batwoman or non-Catwoman way to say your brand new book, baby, out for a couple of weeks, Perfectly Framed. Tell us about it.
Perfectly Framed is book 2 in my mobile cat groomer mysteries. The book 1, Brushed Up on Murder, I wrote last year. And so this is, the same main character and different murder. And it's fun because she's a mobile cat groomer, which when I started writing this, I didn't even know there was such a thing. I knew there were cat groomers. But I didn't know that there were people who actually, I'm from a small town, so it's not like they're all over the place, that she actually goes out in her little equipped van, and does all the stuff and goes to people's houses. And the really fun thing is when she goes to the people's houses, that's when she finds clues. And that's when she talks to people and hears things. And it's a small town and there's all the gossip. And one of my favorite things in the first book and this book, and then actually these people will star in book 3. There's 2 older women, they're in their 80s, and they're next door neighbors. And they have Sphynx cats. Oh. Their cats are sisters. But the ladies are best friends and they live next door to each other. And they know all the gossip. And so then the main character can drive to their house and do the groomings on their cats. And these ladies are hilarious. And I love it. I know you guys probably sounds weird to someone who isn't a writer, but to you guys, don't you love it when you're rereading something of your own and it makes you laugh?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Your own stuff makes you laugh. You're like, well, that is funny. Well, okay, I guess I really know that, But these ladies, I just love them. And so they get their little adult beverages and they come out to the end of their driveway and they have their little chairs and they watch the main character, groom their kitties, and it's just the whole. So yeah, they're in all of those. And book 3 that'll come out next year, they are the stars.
Ooh.
Like they'll be accused of something.
Okay. So go ahead, Sarah.
I was going to say, so in Perfectly Framed, we have, Molly Stewart is our main character, the owner of Fabulous Felines. Yes. And can you tell us about, she gets involved into this case like page 2. Can you tell us a little bit about the setup of the murder mystery that we have on our hands?
Yes. So Evan is a photographer and is a friend of hers. And he has done, he does pet portraits. And so he's taken a lot of pictures of her own 2 cats and her clients. And she's on her way to go look at some of these pictures and she's real excited. And she walks in and he's just standing there and he's kind of got a glazed look on his face, and he's sort of like pointing and she's like, well, what's wrong? And he's like, well, there's she's like, spider, what are you talking about? He's, body. And then they find this, this body of this older woman who was his art teacher. And it's a whole backstory of his experiences, bad experiences with his art teacher. And so it gave him a really good motive to have wanted to kill her. So, and then Molly gets involved in, all of the murder and all of that. So I'm sorry. My cat's yelling on the other side of the door. That's why I'm like distracted.
Well, that's because
her name's actually Molly.
You need to open the door and let them come in. Yes.
No, she'd be yelling right here.
Well, everybody knows I'm a total pushover with cats. But anyway, back to you and your wonderful stories. One of the things I thought was really interesting as a way to bring Molly into investigating this particular case is Evan's desire to kind of, if at all possible, limit or not involve the police as much as possible.
Yeah.
And try to keep things kind of quiet. Can you talk about that a little bit? Kind of where that idea came from and where it goes?
Well, when I wrote the first one, somehow when I wrote the sheriff, he was kind of a bumbling idiot. Not that I think police are at all, believe me. But in my story, he's just sort of a full of hot air guy. And he doesn't really do his job. So Molly knows this. And Evan knows this. And in the first book, it was Molly's uncle who was accused. And so that's how she got involved in the first book with the murder. And then, here's her friend Evan kind of going through the same thing. So since she happened to walk in on him and the body, she wants to help him. And she knows the sheriff is not real reliable. So
I want to commend you, Ruth, on, having read a lot of cozy mysteries and having stumbled across a lot of dead bodies. I always pay very close attention to like how, as a reader, how the person who is finding the dead body is reacting, for like some sense of like, keeping it real and that believability, and just Evan's reaction to finding Agnes. I thought, number one, just it centered me so much in the moment, and just made me, number one, my heart went out to him immediately, because you can see him visibly struggling for pages to just like come to terms with what's going on. And so I thought that the way that like his initial encounter was presented was very gripping, but also from like a character development angle. I really liked it, and I really liked how it focused everything in on the seriousness of the issue. When sometimes in a cozy mystery, it can be like, oh, like another dead body, like let's go crime solving. So I really liked how that was framed for the story.
Very nicely done.
I do have to say, perfectly framed is, so we're actually talking about this on the last episode of the Bookish Hour, but those titles that have like multi-levels to them, where, we're kind of set up to believe that Evan is being framed for murder. But also he is a photographer, and there's just, I was just like, oh my gosh, the levels here. Loved it.
So that begs the question, Ruth, are the titles your own doing, or have you come up with them in collaboration, folks? How has that worked for you?
Those are mine.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Most of my titles, I think all of them actually might be mine. I don't know. Okay. Titles, as you know, titles can be hard. I mean, sometimes they just pop in your head, but sometimes they just,
Is it something that you have to determine prior to writing the book on your end? Because I usually, like, my title sometimes guides me of like, okay, I need to have something that's related to this title, or at the end, then I can come together and be like, this is the title that speaks to me for this length of a book.
I usually have kind of a list of different ones that are possibilities. And sometimes I know beforehand, but I don't always. Yeah. It just depends on how the story goes.
Nice.
So one thing I want to ask, first off, before I do, though, the Mizan says that she would love to meet your cats. So just saying.
Maybe at the end I can bring one in. How's that?
Okay. That would be fabulous. But speaking of cats, and everyone knows I love kitty cats, you have 3. And one of the things, though, and so you're obviously a lover of cats, but one of the things I'm curious about is not only in this series, in your other mysteries, you include cats in the books. Was that a conscious decision to write cats as opposed to, say, dogs, or just not have, animals in the stories?
Well, I've never had a dog.
Okay.
I like dogs. Growing up, we just always had cats, and my mom was a big cat lover, and her mom was a big cat lover. So that's all we ever had.
Okay.
But I definitely wanted to have animals in this. I just think it makes it more fun. I don't know. It just adds another layer. And,
I would very much agree, because.
Well, actually, I'm sorry. I say actually, Evan has dogs in the book.
Okay.
But yeah, always want to have animals, though. I'm sorry, Sarah.
No, I was just to say, like, having written a series that doesn't feature animals versus having written series that do, there's just like such another level of warmth and coziness that they bring, where it's like, yes, like I am dealing with this murder mystery, trying to puzzle out like what's going on, but at the end of the day, like I can just go home and cuddle with my cats, or I can go home and curl up with my dog. And I think it's a nice way to center the story around the character. And so yes, I I'm a convert, I guess, especially after getting a pet of my own. And so I would love to talk about your animals and how are they featured in your stories at all, or are you how do you like name the animal characters that you have? Because we've got Jasper and Percival, which I'm like, love those names because I love those names. For folks who have read my books, they will know why. And so I'm just curious, like how do your animals become the characters that they are?
Oh gosh. Well, I do. I think a lot of the cats, they have characteristics of mine, of my cats. And I'll kind of mix it up a little bit. Like there is, and I have another series. It's the Seneca James series. It takes place at a butterfly farm. And there's her cat's name was Winifred. And Winifred is really snooty. She's orange and she wears butterfly costumes. She likes her.
Nice.
So, yeah, like a cat would. Yeah, mine would never. Anyway, she wears those, but she's very snooty, and her personality is a lot like a cat that we used to have. I mean, I just when I'm writing her, I'm thinking of our cat Roxy that we had, and it just I don't know, it's kind of fun to make it come out on the page. I had my very first book was Ring of Death, about a hygienist who falls in love with her. It's actually her boss, who's a dentist. Anyway, her cat's name was Weatherby. I don't know. I just like really different. And then in the Kitty Bray Cafe series, the Cat Cafe series, her cat is Templeton, which somebody pointed out to me is the name of a rat, which I understand that, but I wasn't really thinking about that when I named him Templeton. I don't know. I like fun names. Yeah. So.
Well, I tell you what, you've gotten a lot of commentary in support of you including animals and cats in your books. And to me, that's one of the things that I think, to your point, about humanizes our sleuths and our characters, because, I think we like to believe that people who are animal lovers are that empathetic type of person who cares about others.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's true. Yeah.
Do you have for so Molly has a lot of pet parents. I love that she calls them pet parents.
Yeah.
That she interacts with. Are there any within the town of Whitewater Valley? We'll touch a little bit more on setting in just a minute. For the the people that she interacts with within town, can you give our audience members like a little bit of like a sneak peek of the different personalities that they may meet when reading your books?
Well, I had told you about the two older ladies and their Sphinx cats that they dress alike, by the way. They call every morning to see what the cats are going to wear. And then another favorite one that I had so much fun with, his name's Ricky. And he's the postman. I love him. He can just say whatever he wants because he's kind of nuts. And you're like, oh, look who's here. He's back. But yeah, he's fun. And her Uncle Russ is in there, and they're really close. And she has a best friend, Jillian, who has an eye on Evan, by the way. Okay. And she has Veronica as her assistant, but the pet parents that come in, they're fun to write too. Some of them are sweet, some of them are moody, and I like to write a lot of times that their cats are sort of like them, like nice. It's just sort of a lady that sort of throws a hissy fit, and her cat's like, oh, and to match up the person with their cat, get a grumpy man and his cat's like, oh.
The reason why that brings such a smile to my face is this past weekend, we were kind of explaining Evie's personality to somebody. And now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, oh my gosh, like she basically is just like a little me.
Well, I tell you what, but with Maria and I are just like, we're two peas in a pod. So
yeah.
We've got Sir Reads a lot in the chat saying that if someone doesn't like animals, they did it. And I think that is a good rule of thumb for the most part.
So, so Ruth, we've only got about 10 minutes left, unfortunately. It's just so much fun hanging out with you, talking mysteries, talking cats. You said that this Perfectly Framed is book 2 in this series.
Yeah.
Been out a couple weeks. Where can people find it?
It's on all the outlets, Amazon and Kobo and Barnes and Noble and everywhere, ebook and in print.
Okay.
And should be able to get that. And the first book is actually 99 cents right now, the ebook.
Yes.
Temporarily. I don't know how long the publisher will leave it that way. Probably not too much longer, but a lot of people have sort of snapped that up to just try it and see if they like it, for 99 cents. And then if they like it, they can maybe try Perfectly Framed.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, folks, Ruth Hartman books for $1, for less than $1. That's a steal. Y'all know what to do. Wait, and 9 minutes, go get your copy. Okay.
I was going to say that's a perfect deal.
Yes. Yes.
So, and the first
Sarah
one
Burr for the win.
For folks wanting the title, it is brushed up on murder.
Yes.
And it's book 1 in the Mobile Cat Groomer Mysteries. So you had mentioned, Ruth, at the beginning that when you first started writing this, or that when you were thinking about this idea, you didn't know that mobile cat grooming was something. So did that mean that Molly kind of started off as just a stationary cat groomer, or like how did that like process for you go?
I looked up cat groomers and it popped up mobile. I'm like, oh, what is that? And I started reading about this van, and then I saw pictures of it was equipped, and it had, like the little sink, and you have all the towels and the lotions and the shampoos. And I thought, well, that's a whole lot more fun. She also has her building, where people come in, and they do groomings there too. Mm-hmm. But this is for, if people don't want to come in.
Nice.
And also I thought, well, if she can go out into the community, she's gonna see more and hear more, and that's going to add to the mystery too. And so that's made it more fun.
Yeah, and that brings up a really good point that we've talked about a number of times over the years on the show. With our amateur sleuths, we need them to be believable in such a way that not everybody can be, a multi-billionaire, and they can just go, be like Lord Peter Wimsey and, investigate on a whim. Most of them are working folks like us. And so they've got to figure out a way, or you as the writer needs to figure out a way for them to have a job and still get out there in the community.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. The van makes it a lot of fun. She gets to talk to people, and she, even if she's just driving around, she'll see things, or she'll, stop and talk to someone. And her cats, her 2 cats, Jasper and Percival, go with her. And so they sit in the front, and they look out the window and stuff, and they're driving, and their little tails are going. And then they're sort of the little supervisors. And so the other cats are used to them. And so they go back and they, supervise and watch to make sure everything's done just right.
I love that Jasper and Percival get to go out on other adventures with Molly as well. And I'll ask about that in just a moment. I do want to make note of a comment from Susan saying how fun the chat is. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Susan.
Thank you.
She grew up with dogs, but 4 years ago, she inherited her mom's cat, Molly. So Molly taught her a lot about cats. So Molly's a great name.
Yes.
And speaking of Molly, Molly, the character in your series, takes her cats for walks on leashes. And for folks who are familiar with another series, the Alley Cobb Mysteries, Alley Cobb, the main sleuth, also takes her cat for walks on leashes. I need to know how these characters get their cats to go on walks on leashes.
I would be in shreds if I tried it with mine. When my husband and I were first married, way back 41, however many years ago, we lived in an apartment in Indianapolis, and we had got a cat, Arthur.
I love that name.
And we were college students, so we were poor, and I couldn't even afford a leash. Because he always wanted to go out, and I didn't really want to go out. It kind of scared me because mine are indoor cats now, and he would run out the door. So Garry said, "Well, we have a rope. Let's tie it around the end of his collar, and just like attach it to his collar." And it was this really long rope. And I didn't think it would freak him out so bad. And I opened the door and he took off, and it was like yards long, and he's just running. And all of a sudden the rope went out and he just kind of went, and he just let down. I was like, well, that didn't work out very well.
As soon as that tension is there, it feels like that's like the catalyst, because because I remember trying as a very young child to get my cat, his name was Pooh Bear, to get him walking on a leash, and it was just like stiff body, like total, like I thought that I had like killed him because he didn't move. And so I just, whenever I come across cats on leashes, I just find it to be the most entertaining thing. And I would love to know how Ursula, for Allie, like how she got her on a leash.
Well, I'll tell you, it is training a cat to walk with a leash or a harness. It's a real, it's a thing.
It is.
And nowadays, we've got the internet. So, back 20, 30 years ago, when we all just got a leash and it's like, okay, cat, let's go. Those were doomed to failure, because it really is a whole thing where you like get the leash, get the harness, just kind of lay it on the floor, let the cat get used to it for a while. Then you put it on the cat, but you don't buckle it. And then after a while, then you go ahead and buckle it. And then maybe, after, this whole couple long week process, then maybe you go outside. And so the other thing also is, training cats early. So with Allie and with Ursie, Ursie was just a little kitten. And so Allie got her when she still lived in New York and living in an apartment. And so she was able to train the kitten early on how to do it. So yes, it can be done. And I agree with you, Sarah. It's just so much fun seeing cats out there. But yeah, they're not like, and I'm painting with broad strokes, but they're not like dogs, where for the most part, it seems like dogs, you can put a harness on them and a leash and you're ready to go. Mm-hmm. Cats, you got to put that front end effort into it.
I love it.
And even when you put all that front end effort into it, there's no guarantee that your cat is going to cooperate. Believe me, I know.
And throughout this episode, we have dropped some really fun, and I love names of pets, and I love like the process that people go through to name their pets. Because I think it's a really special thing. And we have Mizan commenting about how Pooh Bear is one of her favorite fictional characters. And so I'm just thinking, like, from the names that you shared, or if there's like a couple that you're particularly fond of, if you, and JC, this is something for you as well. Like, what are some of your favorite pet names from your past that aren't security question answers on the internet somewhere?
Oh gosh. Well, my mom always, she named our cats growing up, and she always named them people names, and a lot of them were Bible names, so she'd have like, Samson and Shadrach and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I grew up a preacher's kid, so, you got to get the Bible names in there. I like naming them. I mean, the cats we have now are Remy, Molly, and Murray. Molly actually is after Molly in this story.
Aw,
nice.
Yeah, and Murray, in the Butterfly series, Murray, and it is this grumpy old chef that works in the cafe. Remy was another book character from one of my romances. So I kind of like to give them people names. I don't know.
I like it.
Kind of fun.
Yeah, nice.
JC, what about you?
So, I think as far as my favorite cat name would probably, in my books, would probably be for my upcoming Elmo Simpson mysteries, Elmo's cat, Oscar.
Awesome.
Yes, because Oscar, like Elmo, is named after Elmo from Sesame Street. Oscar is also named from Oscar the Grouch from Sesame Street. So that was a lot of fun.
Yes. Coming up with names is fun. It is.
I think so Ruth, much like you, like my parents were the ones that named our pets when I was growing up. But the first animal that I got to name, I named him Theodore. And so my character Teddy in the Book Blogger Mysteries is like an ode to him, because I love that name. Like that is just one of my favorite names out there. So we have Mizan saying her first cat's name was Pepsi. Love it.
Nice.
Then we have Snowball, Bobo, and Quandi. Now we have Fiona and Belle, short for Tinkerbell. I love, those are all really good names.
Yeah, very nice. And I tell you what, Ruth, I could hang out with you for another couple hours and talk cats, talk books, but unfortunately our time is kind of run out.
That went really, really fast.
Yeah, well, it's just because you're so wonderful to chat with. So tell us, before we have to get out of here, where can people find you to kind of get caught up on not only, Molly and her exploits, but all your other books?
Well, my website is www.ruthjhartman.com. I have all my books on there. And whenever I get a new one, I update it and you can look at all the pretty covers of all the pretty cat pictures. All of my covers have cats in them and cats on the covers. Some of the covers are only cats. I mean, that's the cover.
Fabulous. And as well on Facebook and social media, are you there too?
Yes.
Perfect.
Facebook, BookBub. I'm on Twitter. I need to get back rolling with that. Sort of got off of there, but
I don't know if you do.
Yeah.
I'm actually writing a scene right now in Coco Klein for book 4 where she's just like, Twitter's a lost cause. So just don't worry about it.
I know, I use it a lot. I'm on Facebook a lot. A
Perfect.
lot, probably too much. Yeah.
And for folks watching the show, if you head to our profile on Facebook, you'll see that we've tagged Ruth in our post for today, so you can make sure that you can follow her there to stay connected. Ruth, thank you so much for being here today. It was fabulous chatting with you about the release of Perfectly Framed. And folks, remember, book 1, Brushed Up on Murder, is available for 99 cents for a limited time on ebook.
Yes.
To our viewers who joined us live, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully we got to brighten your afternoon with all of our chat about how much we love cats and animals and cozy mysteries in general. We will be back in 2 weeks, I believe, in June with another Bookish Moment. So you can head to itsbookishtime.com to stay connected with our upcoming shows. We are in the home stretch for this season. We are going to be taking July and August off, but June is super packed. So we've got a lot more fun ahead. So with that being said, again, Ruth, thank you for sharing your time with us today. And
thank you.
To everybody joining us live, we appreciate it. And until we meet again, stay bookish, everyone. Bye-bye.